I have to ask this question. How evil is Lori Daybell? And I say that because of what's being revealed as she represents herself in her trial for what happened to her fourth husband, Charles Vallow. Because from my perspective, what she's doing there and what she's attempting to do in front of this jury is completely misrepresent who she is and what she's about. She's trying to play the role of this wife and this mother of 5 children, raising them. Meanwhile, I know, you know, Al knows, Jonesey knows, everybody knows, except perhaps this jury, that she red-rummed her children and she was cheating on her husband and she had her eyes on his insurance money. Anyhow, we're going to talk about Lori Daybell representing herself. This is the Tangent Podcast. I'm Vinnie Politan along with Al Wunsch III.
Viva la Tangenistas.
And the radio legend, Jonesey.
How are you?
All right. As I said, folks, get ready, fasten your seatbelts, because this is the Tangent Podcast.
It's Vinnie and the Tangents. True Crime Podcast. Vinny has the blue eyes, Al cracks the jokes. Jonesy stays behind his shades, entertaining all the folks. It's Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast. Load up all your comments, hit those super chats. Let's go smash that like button, so we can all have a blast. Vinny, Al, and Jonesy on the job. They're the Sugar Hill Gang of true crime. They're telling stories of days gone by. They take crime and turn into a good old time. It's Vinny and the Tangents, True Crime Podcast.
Yes, indeed. It's the Friday theme song. You know it. We are ready. We are locked and loaded. What a trial taking place in Arizona this time for the one and only Lori Daybell, or Lori Daybell, or Lori Vallow, or Lori Vallow Daybell, or Lori Ryan Vallow Daybell, whatever you want to call
Lori
her.
Evil.
Or you just want to call her evil.
You doesn't have to call me Lori.
What's interesting, and I want to start real quickly. I want to show everyone something, including you guys. Like, she's representing herself. And yes, there's a couple aspects of her opening statement that I want to talk about, but I want to begin with this.
The evidence will show, and the evidence will show that the evidence will show that the evidence will show 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 and the evidence will show 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 that the evidence will show you.
That's what the evidence is going to show you, folks. That's all. So, Al, do we want to explain why she kept saying the evidence will show in her opening
Okay,
statement?
because what she's doing is that she was probably given a template on how to do an opening statement, and that would be the template she was following. And generally what ends up happening is that somebody is going to try to dispel some of the things that they're going to try to prove, or this, that, the other thing. And so she just kept rattling that off. But honestly, she didn't do a bad job in her opening statement. I mean, that repeating line, got a little tried as it went on. But from the standpoint of putting together a cogent, logical, and structured opening, she wasn't bad. She was not. She was better than I expected. But the problem is that once you have that, the rest of the trial is just an adventure. And unless you've been on that adventure more than once, it's a nightmare. And we're watching that, and we're seeing that self-destruction. But at this stage of the game, what has she got to lose? She's never going to see the light of day anyway. Have some fun with it, and that's what I think she's doing.
So you think she's enjoying it, Jonesy?
She's definitely enjoying it.
You think she's enjoying this, Jonesy? Now, she did actually, believe it or not, and this shocked me, is she fought cameras in the courtroom.
Really?
Yeah.
Well, that's all a part of it, right? If you're gonna like defend yourself, you want to, you want to have people watching now, don't you? Especially when you don't really have anything on the line, and that, like Al says, she won't see the light of day anyway. Um, I think I hope she's having fun with it. Isn't that the whole point of doing this sort of thing?
Well, I'm not sure. I don't know if she felt, because she had a trial already, right? We
Right.
saw that trial a couple of years ago, and she did nothing there. There were points of time where she was deemed incompetent to stand
Right.
trial, and she goes from incompetent to stand trial to now representing herself at trial. I mean, that's a huge change, but it's also, to me, demonstrating the evil of her, because she is able to function, like she understands, like the evidence will show. She's making some objections. She's making her defense is an actual defense in all of this, which tells me she knows and knew exactly what was going on. Because one of the things we always debated was, did she really believe that everybody was turning into a zombie? Or was it a convenient way to explain the early demise of people in her life? And was it an easy way to get her brother Alex to eliminate those people, because they were zombies, they weren't real people anymore, yet she knew? And just from the way she's acting in such a coherent manner, very aware of who people are and what's going on in the courtroom, that she had that same awareness at the time that she knew her children were being taken out by Alex and buried in Chad's backyard.
But
that's what it tells me.
She's been consistent with regards to her performance in this hearing, and she's kept the thread going right. I mean, I don't know if it's because she's nervous that if she changes something, then maybe they can bring in some of the prior testimony from the other case, or bring in some other facts from the other case to refute her with regards to some of her statements. But, look, cross-examination is not easy for attorneys, let alone someone who's not skilled, not trained in it at all. And, she got to sit and watch a trial. That doesn't make you a trial lawyer. But from the standpoint of her articulating and going forward, I mean, she hasn't done a bad job. It's just that she's got a bad case. So that's half the problem here.
But it's the best of all her cases, right?
It is the best of all her cases. And you know what? And look, there were a lot of comments. I know, Vinnie, you had kept saying about the fact that with regards to the woman that went out.
We'll get to her. We're going to show some of that, Al. We're going to show some of that. Jonesey, I think Jonesey would be good at cross-examination.
I've always felt like I would enjoy being an attorney in a trial situation. I would need to have beside me, people who would advise me on laws and stuff like that. But the performance itself would be a blast. All those years watching on court TV made me think that I maybe want to do such a thing. Now, whether I'd be good at it in my head, I would be, because it's really just a performance. But it's always entertaining when somebody takes on the role of being their own attorney. I mean, you would hope it would be. And I'm pretty entertained by her.
Well, there's cringe moments, in a lot
That's
of those.
the entertainment.
I mean, Colin Ferguson is the perfect example of a cringe moment when he was using, he was talking in the third person,
right,
and things along those lines, and his opening was horrific. And
he would ask something in the third person, and the witness would say, "It was you."
Yeah.
And they even had a parody of that trial on one of the sitcom, one of the comedy shows like Saturday Night Live. Or
it was Saturday Night Live. It was.
Was it?
It was Saturday Night Live. Yeah.
And it was something like, what color tie am I wearing? And the guy turned around and took his tie off.
So big thanks to Alicia. Al looks great in his hoodie. Vinnie, my allegedly t-shirt's on the way, and Jonesy looking mysterious and cool as usual. TGITF. Thank God it's Tangent Friday.
Was waiting for the East Bergen bus that starts at Fort Lee.
Are you on a subway, Al? It sounds like you're on a subway.
And the answer is no. But I am at Don Bosco High School because today, Vin, was career day. And I
Oh,
was hoping to figure out a career for myself. And I've been coming here for 20 years and doing this career day. And to this date, I still don't have one.
have you considered a career in refrigeration technician, being a refrigerator technician?
Come
All
on
this will
down.
be yours, Al.
And you get a free
At the
set of
Lincoln
tools.
Technical Career Institute. That was my
Technical
favorite
Career
commercial.
Institute. But to see, so this is career day, and it's very depressing at the Don Bosco career day because everybody who speaks before me has done. I like the president of NBC was here, the guy who does Untuck It shirts, the guy who came up with Shake Shack,
Tuck it
and then
shirt.
yeah,
Well, can I tell you about Untuck It shirts? Like that fad is over. Everybody's tucking them in now. So what does that guy got? He's got nothing left.
What about the half tuck? Does that
except
count?
he sold the company for about $850 million. So
Okay. So he can afford to buy a shirt that he can tuck in now.
yeah,
Let's do this. Let's do this. Let's play a little piece of Lori Daybell. We'll go to her opening statement, because I thought this was probably the most effective use of representing yourself in an open, which is to demonstrate or attempt to demonstrate some emotion. But the reason I believe this is so evil is because it's the emotion about her family tragedy. But like, if you know the whole story, the tragedy is that at that house that day, there were 5 people, all young. The oldest, I think, was Charles Vallow, who was 60, but none of them ancient, none of them elderly, and none of them are alive today except for Lori Daybell. And that is not an accident. That is not an accident. All right, let's watch part of her getting emotional during her opening statement.
The evidence will show that we were spoken to by the Chandler police officers. And the evidence will show that Tylee and I were told by the Chandler police detectives that Charles had passed away. The evidence will show that we were put into a police van and driven to the Chandler Police Department. The evidence will show that Alex was taken by police in a police car to the Chandler Police Department, and that we were all 3 separated into interrogation rooms and we were each interviewed. The evidence will show that next, Tylee and I were brought back together into a room at the Chandler Police Department and were introduced to a victim's advocate who was very kind to us. The evidence will show that after speaking to the victim's advocate, that Tylee, Alex, and myself were put back into the police van and driven back to our residence. We were directed by the Chandler detectives to take the rental car and return later to the residence after we picked up JJ from school. The evidence will show that we did as instructed by the Chandler detectives. The evidence will show that we drove to Alex's residence where we attended to the wound on the back of his head.
Okay, we got to get to this, okay? Because the wound to the back of the head is he's claiming that he was struck with a baseball bat by Charles Vallow. Charles Vallow was a big man. Charles Vallow had like the grown man muscles, right? And he's a former professional baseball player.
Yeah,
And it's a metal bat, and it was a metal bat.
Ooh.
So what do you think would happen if a former baseball player hit a guy in the back of the head with a metal bat?
There would be, it would be one of those things like when you hit a watermelon with a sledgehammer. So, I mean, you'd be in pretty bad shape, especially a guy who played baseball, and I think he played AAA. So,
Yeah.
I mean, that's that's right before the pros. So, I mean, you are a pro at AAA. So that's how that goes.
I used to always think if you get hit with a baseball bat that you're dead, but it does seem a lot of people survive that. But yeah, this guy's going to take a really good swing and swing for the fences if he's angry enough, right?
I mean, he, survival, but I don't think he would have been conscious. Okay, so I mean, like that would have certainly knocked him out under those circumstances, and the amount. I mean, he would have had a cracked skull and probably something even worse with regards to same as opposed to a little bump. I mean, that's a sizable injury for getting hit with an aluminum bat in the head.
Yeah, to me that was like absurd. I could not believe that. I could never believe that. The guy's a professional baseball, but he's not just a professional. He's a big guy.
Well, what if it was Dave Kingman? He'd either be knocked out or he would miss his head entirely.
Right. He's not a contact hitter. So this is the wound that she's talking about, and I refer to it usually as a boo-boo, but here we go.
The evidence will show that Alex was then contacted by the Chandler detectives to return to the residence so that Alex could walk them through the events that occurred with the detectives at the residence. The evidence will show that Alex, Tylee, and I did return to the residence as instructed. And the evidence will show that Alex entered into the residence with Detective Moffett, but that Tylee and I were met by Detective Inkland in the front yard. The evidence will show that at the time, Detective Inkland asked Tylee and myself if we had Charles' cell phone. Tylee retrieved Charles' cell phone from the rental car and gave it to Detective Inkland at 3:11 p.m. on July 11th, 2019. And at that time, Charles' phone was placed in the custody of Chandler police detectives. The evidence will show that Detective Inkland asked us if we knew the passcode on Charles' phone, which Tylee proceeded to give to Detective Inkland. The evidence will show that Tylee and I left the residence to pick up JJ from school, while Alex remained at the residence with the detectives.
Okay, so what do we think of this part? Jonesy, I want your reaction to this. So JJ is special needs, right? He's he needs some extra care. It's her story is that JJ is in the car, everybody else is still in the house, and then this fight breaks out, and then Lori and Tylee, her daughter, run out of the house, and then Alex fires the weapon and takes the life of Charles, and then she gets in the car and drives and stops at Burger King to pick up the breakfast that JJ had been promised, and then drops JJ off at school. Also stops at Walgreens to pick up flip-flops because she says they didn't have any shoes on, and then returns. What are your thoughts about those actions? Are those in any normal situation? Would that be normal? Would you
No.
just flee
Never.
after a gun has been fired?
Never. That seems I don't know if it's evil, but it's certainly like irrational behavior. I'm going to go pick up some fast food, and I'm going to drop off and pick up some flip flops.
Yeah, I don't. It's her story, and we know that that's where she went. We've got the video of her.
Well, she should
picking
ask
up the food.
herself why.
Yeah.
The evidence will show that by the time Tylee, JJ, and I returned to the residence, that all police, EMS, CSI, and detectives were gone from the residence and only Alex remained. The evidence will show that the next day, I contacted Chandler Police to inform them that Charles' belongings were still at the hotel. I asked the detective if I should go get them, and I was told that they would take care of it. The evidence will show that I asked the detectives, what should we do next? And they directed us that they would contact us in about 3 weeks after their supervisor passed off their reports, and Alex could go to the police station and retrieve his gun.
So one of the things she's trying to do, Al, in front of this this jury is get them to believe and understand that this was ruled self-defense.
Right.
That the investigation was over, it was self-defense, and nothing happened until somehow, some way, for some reason, she was indicted years later. What are your thoughts about how an investigation in a case like this would go? How much impact the Idaho cases would have on whether or not you're going forward with a case in Arizona, et cetera?
Well, I mean, look, it was initially ruled as self-defense, and she's playing that up, and it's the only place she's got is we saying that, look, all of a sudden now
Will the jury be? Will the jury be? Will that impact the jury? The fact that,
and that's the interesting point.
Years later.
That's the interesting point on that, because the jury's got to be saying to themselves, well, what changed? What all of a sudden came out of the blue that caused us to now rethink this as not self-defense, but a conspiracy to murder, to red rum the ex-husband, or soon to be ex-husband. So it's a really weird, it's a very interesting juxtaposition that the state has to go through to try to explain why they're doing this now without talking about what went on in her other situations. And you kind of have to tiptoe on that. And that's where this is going to get a little dicey. And so for her to be focusing on that, I think that's her play. She has to play it that way. It's a smart move. It's a smart move on her part. I mean,
the frustrating thing here is this jury only knows, like I cannot fairly and independently analyze this trial. It's difficult because I know too much. I know too much about her, and what I know is so much greater than what this jury is going to find out inside this courtroom in Maricopa County, Arizona. To me, that's the challenge for prosecutors here, right? You've got to paint a big picture, but you can't paint the whole picture. And I hate that. And I understand the law, why it is what it is. You should be judged for each individual action, not on your prior acts. But to me, there's a course of conduct here that is, to me, seems extremely relevant to understanding everything that happened. Like, why would Charles be red rummed? Well, the same reason that Tammy would be red rummed, the same reason why JJ and Tylee would be red rummed, and potentially the same reason why Alex Cox is not alive. But it's all with this huge plot and plan and pile of bodies. But the jury's not going to get it. The jury's just going to get what happened that day, and there is a baseball bat there.
And that's the sort of the genius of her being her own attorney, because she gets to, and you've referenced this, she almost gets to testify without having to be cross-examined, because she's the only one that was alive from that room. She's the only one that can tell, what was going on. And her little end questions that she gives to every witness demonstrates it's like, look, you can say what you want, but you never heard me say this at all. And they go, yeah, that's right. Okay. So she's getting the opportunity to testify without having to be cross-examined, which is really a very, very bright move from a standpoint of getting her story across as the only person who's alive from that room today. It's her, the only one that was in that house. And so she's getting the chance to, cake and eat it too. So not a bad move strategically.
Oh, this is an interesting comment from Tanya. I heard someone make a comment, where were those fake tears when she was talking to police and saying, hey, neighbors, while she's laughing, right? So this is interesting. The emotion that we're seeing here, right? Or the alleged emotion, whatever's happening here. And it gets even greater at the end as we get towards the end of this. But the day of, she's very casual, got her sunglasses on, and actually cracking a joke with one of the responding officers. And to me, prosecutors really need to point out that demeanor so it registers with the jury that what you're seeing her do in the courtroom here years later is much different, folks. This is much different than what she said and how she appeared and what she was doing the day all of this happened. And I think that's going to be extremely significant.
I think her pause to show emotion in the earlier clip just seems so contrived that I think you would see through that even if you didn't know the entire story. It almost seemed like it was scripted. Pause, take a few seconds, count to 3, and then continue on.
That'd be interesting because she is reading this to the jury. So I'm wondering,
wouldn't it be cool to have little notes?
I wonder if those pause lines are there. Like for politicians when it says pause for applause, right? Right. Interesting. Let's continue to listen.
The evidence will show that the last thing I heard from Chandler Police Department until June of 2021, 2 years later, when I received a grand jury indictment from them for this alleged crime. The evidence will show that Chandler Police treated this incident as self-defense.
I'm going to object to that.
The objection sustained. The jury should disregard that last statement.
The evidence will show you that my brother, Alex Cox, passed away on December 12th, 2019, almost exactly 5 months to the day after Charles, my husband, passed away.
And the day where they were exhuming the body of Tammy Daybell. This case taught me to don't believe in any coincidences in this case. Everything's connected, but I think that might be a difficult case to prove, which is why it's never been proven. But I don't buy it that a guy just is sitting on the toilet and passes away. That happened in The Sopranos. I remember that episode.
What happened to Elvis?
That happened to Elvis too.
That is true, but Elvis, it wasn't natural causes, was it?
Well, yes, natural causes brought on by abuse,
by some substance, right? Like, so the same thing could have happened to Alex Cox.
Well, I don't know that with Elvis it was the substance that he took that evening so much as it was cumulative, which is closer to natural.
Yeah, I guess.
The evidence will show that Alex passed away from a blood clot in his lung.
Objection.
So how did that blood clot get in his lung is the question. Like, what caused that? Was that just naturally occurring, or did something stir that up? See, that's the part that I don't think ever got investigated.
I always thought that in openings and closings, you had so much leeway that you don't have when you're examining or cross-examining. Are there situations where there's this many objections during an opening?
Well, there wasn't that many. I think she objected twice, if I'm not mistaken.
Right.
But I mean,
times.
I'm not used to even hearing that.
It's very rare.
Comeback. She has no comeback. Someone objects. This is where she's losing. She's unable to do things that a lawyer would do.
Right.
It's always related to the rules of evidence and the rules of procedure, which she doesn't know, and even young attorneys don't know, and some experienced attorneys aren't great at. But when an objection is made and the other side makes an argument, she never has a response, which is understandable. Like, she understands the facts of the case because she's the one who did it all. But when it comes to those things, she never has a response. So basically, she loses almost every objection because she has no response.
Well, I mean, that's, the rules of evidence are not an easy thing to master, especially, when you're on a trial for your life. But, to address Jonesey's point about objections in an opening, you would ordinarily not do that. But, I think it was a smart move strategically, because I also think that it kind of throws her off a little bit, which is what, I do a lot of times when I'm making objections, is to get them off of that typewriter that she's like reciting like ba 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 ba, and throw that in there to kind of throw it off. The fact that there was a blood clot in his lungs, I don't know why she even objected to that, quite candidly. I don't
I don't
think
think
it
there's going to be any evidence of it, and
makes,
how
but I
how
don't think
Cox died. She's claiming isn't relevant, but it is relevant. Like how the guy who actually pulled the trigger isn't here in court, I think is relevant to the case.
I agree.
So
Yeah.
the objection is kind of like a batter stepping out of the batter's box to mess with the rhythm of the pitcher.
Sometimes, I mean, she used it only twice, but one of the two times I would probably not have objected.
Again,
What if,
I'll sustain the objection. It's
So-
not relevant for this matter.
That's my feeling on it. I just think
The
that
evidence will
sometimes,
show you that I am the only person being charged with this crime.
I'm going to object to the relevance of that.
that's a good one.
As the state has mentioned, they are alleging that insurance money was my motive.
Here's the big
Social
finish.
Security was my motive. Spouses having insurance policies is not a crime. Collecting Social Security is not a crime. Self-defense is not a crime. A family tragedy is not a crime. It's a tragedy. Thank you.
All right, the state can call its first witness.
Thank you.
see, that was more of a closing line than it would have been in an opening.
Yeah, but it I think it's effective. That was actually objectionable because that was an argument. That really wasn't a statement. Like, it's not, you know what I mean? That was an argument that what happened here is not a crime.
Right. I agree. I think that if there was going to be an objection, I would have made an objection to that. But
I do love the line about being the only one charged.
you know what? And that's the interesting thing is it's true. She was the only one charged. So
Yes.
I'm also the only one who was there that day who was still alive.
Right.
Right.
Hey, I was watching last night, Vinnie, and you know how we have to use the word red rum and such on the air. I loved hearing you say the actual word on television.
Can you believe that? Things you can say on broadcast television, right? You say it on YouTube, and all of a sudden they'll take your video and make sure no one can see it. It's crazy.
And it's I mean, as broadcasters, you always have to get used to not saying certain things that you might in a different setting. But I'm also impressed at your ability to switch back and forth. Yeah,
no, it's freeing. But what was interesting when we rebooted Court TV in 2019, we became a broadcast network. Originally, we were a cable network.
Right.
So we didn't have to be as bleep, 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 bleep as a cable network. There was a lot more leeway in what we would show the audience in good taste, but there's certain things like the FCC you just can't put on the air. So we have a much more stringent standards and practices department in the reboot of Court TV because we're a broadcast station using the public airwaves versus being solely a cable network where, you guys know cable, you can see anything on cable. There are no rules.
Well, when I started working at Court TV, that was one of the things that impressed me the most. As I heard these words, like these bad words fly that you can't say on broadcast TV, I was pretty impressed with that, but I was also surprised as a person who doesn't have a legal background that this kind of language is used in courtrooms. But it makes sense. If the person actually said something and you're asked to repeat it, originally, before that, I think I would be hesitant to curse in a courtroom.
By the way, we are broadcasting right now on my Facebook page, or streaming. We're not broadcasting, we're streaming on my Facebook page, my YouTube page, my Twitch, my X, and yes, the Court TV YouTube channel as well. And they're reminding everyone in the chat, no politics, no bullying, no spamming, no personal attacks or harassment, no hate speech, and do not use offensive language. And those are all that's all because of Al.
Yeah, exactly right. Exactly right.
So there's another moment I really want to show you
Mm.
guys, which I thought was fascinating, which is so Lori has a one brother, Alex. She has another brother, Adam. Adam Jonesey is in the radio business.
Yeah.
He's been a
Oh,
radio.
and now isn't he a pickleball professional?
Yeah. Now he also, he's a great pickleball player.
Which is your thing. Radio's my thing. Pickleball's your thing. We should love this guy.
Exactly. His name is Adam Cox. He was called to the stand by the prosecution because he was speaking to Charles and was supposed to meet up with Charles the day that Charles was taken out by his brother, Alex. So let's take a look at the moment where sister cross-examines brother. And I was thinking, I don't think in the history of court TV we've ever seen a sibling cross-examination. Do you remember one, Jonesy? Because I don't. Do you remember one, Al? Because I don't.
I don't.
Very few opportunities for that sort of thing, too.
Yeah. I've seen spouses and exes. That's very uncomfortable. But I've never seen like two siblings going at it. Let's take a look at this moment to see how awkward it is.
Mr. Cox, how long has it been since we've seen each other in person?
First of all, she refers to him as Mr. Cox.
Right.
Yes.
And she calls everybody else by their first name, no?
Right. Like
Her husband, she uses that line a lot.
Mr. Cox.
Don't know.
When was the last time you saw me?
I don't recall.
So, has it been a year, 2 years, 3 years, 5 years, 6
Something like
years,
that.
7 years, 8 years?
Something.
Okay. So, you have no idea.
Nope.
This is like, wow. The tension here, and
Yeah.
I'm getting that vibe here. Like what is happening at this moment has a lot of history attached to it. And I've had Adam on my show. He's like a regular normal guy. You know what I mean? Like he's not like, out on the farm. Like he's a regular normal guy whose family was thrust into all of this because of her. And because of her, it has impacted the entire family. All right, let's continue.
You have no idea when the last time you saw me in person.
I don't know the year or how many years it's been.
Okay, so did you see me at Colby's wedding in January 2018?
No, I was not there.
You didn't come to Colby's wedding.
No, I did not.
So did you see me sometime that year at my house
Possibly.
where Colby got married? That house.
I did see you at that house, yes.
At least one time.
Yes.
So possibly in 2018.
Yes.
And when was the last time we had any communications?
The last time I remember our communications was you and I were speaking.
This time, all students who were waiting for the East Bergen.
East
in the
Bergen
kitchen.
is on the field.
Sorry.
No, that's okay. It's like you're teaching in Charlie Brown's class today.
Yeah, well, that's the way I kind of feel. It's like womp, 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 womp.
Was you and I were speaking in the kitchen when the family was over.
Okay, so you think that was that time in 2018?
I think so.
Okay. And were we eating my green chili chicken enchiladas?
Do not remember that.
You do not remember that?
Nope.
Is that what I made every time we had a family get together, which was like 10 times a year?
I don't remember that.
You asked for seconds.
And when was the last time that we had a phone call or text message?
I have no idea.
Could it possibly be around that exact same time?
Possibly.
Okay. So that was possibly in early 2018?
Yes.
Okay. Who do you think initiated the final communication in our relationship?
Who concluded it?
Yeah.
I don't know.
So right now it's 2025, is that correct?
Yes.
And so we haven't spoken in about 8 years? Would that be correct?
Probably 7 or 8 years.
Okay.
Now it's sad.
I would ask for him to be called a hostile witness.
Well, she's already cross-examining
Yeah.
him, so
You can only, a hostile witness is a witness you call.
Oh, I see. I
so,
see.
so if you
Because
call a witness,
you can feel the contempt from him.
oh yeah,
I mean, I think it kind of backfires. I look at it and I think, well, what does he have against you? What did you do?
well,
That's a very interesting point.
because the jury doesn't know that she decimated her family. She took out his niece and nephew. He turned family members against family members. It's unreal the damage that she did. But like you said, Jonesy, for this jury, they don't know the backstory. Adam does. Adam has lived it.
It's either that
So
or the
would you
green
say-
chicken enchilada.
But to that point that
That's the best part.
how often would we communicate before that?
Before what?
Before 2018?
Probably on a regular basis. Once a month, twice a month, 3 times a month.
Like a call or a text message?
Yes.
Just keeping in touch?
Yes.
You know of us living in Hawaii and you were living in Kansas at the time?
Yes.
And in your career, you lived in lots of different places, is that correct?
Yes.
That's the nature of the biz, huh, Jonesy? Folks got to bop around the country.
Yeah, that's it, man. Up and down the dial, just like on WKRP in Cincinnati.
Austin,
Yes.
Dallas,
Yes.
New York,
Yes.
Wichita,
Yes.
Sacramento.
Yes.
Did I miss anything?
Others.
And I was in Texas,
Yes.
Arizona,
Yes.
Hawaii.
Yes.
So would you say that we were not physically close during the past 20 years?
Yes, I would say that.
So our communication would be solely family get-togethers, occasional text messages. Is that correct?
And phone calls, yes.
Okay. So, Mr. Cox, did you see or hear or personally witness me conspire with my brother Alex Cox to murder my husband Charles Vallow?
Repeat that again?
Okay. Did
That is great. He is busting her chops.
Not very talkative for a radio personality,
Yeah.
is he?
It is great. I love it.
you see with your eyes or hear with your ears or personally witness me conspire with my brother Alex Cox to murder
Isn't it our brother?
Yeah.
my husband Charles Vallow?
No.
Thank you. No more questions.
Nothing further, Your Honor. I win. That's the way she's feeling right there, right?
Well, you know what? I mean, her questions. What's interesting is that she seemed to know a lot about his history, even though they were not particularly close. And I think she was trying to demonstrate that. Well, you moved to Wichita, you moved to New York, you moved to Hawaii, you moved to the. So I mean, she did try to show that maybe that there was something there. The Mr. Cox thing, I think, was kind of stupid. I think she would have been better off saying, "You're my brother, my brother, my brother." But what else has she got? I mean, the last question is the best question, which is, You didn't hear me say anything with regards to a conspiracy to red rum my husband. Yeah.
You know, but that's kind of negated by her previous questioning when she's like, you know, we haven't been in touch, we don't like know each other anymore, kind of thing. Like, you know, how could he have heard these things if they're not in contact?
But maybe she's trying to show him as not being necessarily truthful either, because she knew a lot about his history. She knew about him going up and down the dial. So, you know, it's I don't know what the purpose was of her cross-examination on this, but the last question, you know, okay, fine. You can say all you want about me. You've got no proof. You've never heard me say I want to red rum my husband. Yeah,
It's
you're
also
right.
it's also fun as a rival sibling to be able to, like, you know, make him sit there and have to listen to her and answer her questions.
Right. But here's something else. And this is, I think, a missed opportunity. And Gringa, how will she explain the "we got rid of him" text? She's not going to be able to explain that. And thank you so much, Gringa. There is some good evidence for prosecutors in this case, and it's coming straight from Daybell herself in some of her communications. But on this cross-examination of your brother, let's not forget Alex is the one who pulls the trigger. She could have focused on their brother, and she would have said, Adam, our brother, he was a little bit, you know, he had a quick temper. He didn't always act logically. Nobody could stop him from doing what he wanted to do. And didn't our brother also attack another one of my husbands? Didn't he use a taser on the groin area of my former husband, Joseph, Tylee's father? And didn't he go to jail for that? And didn't he joke about that? You know, she could have used Adam to better paint a picture of Alex and could have created another level of the defense here, is that Alex does whatever Alex wants to do. He's on his own. He's out of his mind.
That would have been the right move, but she didn't set that up. That should have been set up in her opening.
Yep.
Absolutely. That should have been set up. The empty chair defense is a wonderful defense. It works a lot of times, and that would have been the move on that. But this is what happens when you're not a skilled legal practitioner. So she's playing cards with the cards she's got dealt, and she doesn't know that if she had put everything on him and just say, listen, you know as well as I do, Alex is not controllable. Okay, you can't tell Alex what to do. If you tell Alex what to do, what will he do? He'll do the opposite, right? I mean, you could have portrayed him that way, and then that would have made sense to a jury.
And you could have talked about all the stories of all you guys growing up and all the crazy things that Alex did. I mean, Alex is like Jonesey's brother.
Yes, for those who don't know, my brother did a lot of time in and out of prison.
Oh, I'm sorry, Jonesy. That's right. I just saw this comment on here, and I just wanted to make a comment on it. But continue. Your brother had some issues. I know that.
No, that's it. I just wanted to fill people in on why Vinnie said that. Hey, Al, quickly, though, before you mention the comment, what is the empty chair defense?
So you point to the chair that there's no one in and say, listen, you know, when she said about I'm the only one that's being charged, okay, I'm not the one that hit him with a bat. Okay, I'm not the one who fired the gun. I'm not the one that knew that there was a gun there. I'm not the one so you just go, who was it? That chair right there is where my brother should be sitting.
Kind of like the family circus, the not me routine.
Exactly.
Right, exactly.
And Al, I think YouTube prefers the term weapon.
Okay.
Would be better. I think the algorithm, hears that and so all of a sudden, oh my goodness, people can't hear that. They might, melt or something. Meanwhile, you watch the local news every night, come on, give me a break.
It's ridiculous. I mean, that any type of censorship gets to be annoying to be.
Yes.
But jury must wonder why JJ and Tylee aren't witnesses.
And this is from just Nina. Thank you, Nina.
Right. And Nina, nice comment. But I'm saying to myself that why would you want your kids testifying against mom? Okay, so like that is an issue. If I'm sitting on the jury, I'd say, well, of course I don't want the young kids to testify as to that. And the one child has developmental issues. So I think you can kind of get around that. And of course, the jury, I mean, the prosecutor's not mentioning that and not saying anything along those lines. But, putting a kid up to testify against a father or a mother is a very, very tricky procedure.
Well,
And
well,
it's,
why wouldn't she? Why wouldn't she? If this is what happened and Tylee is a witness that can tell the truth and corroborate Lori's story, why wouldn't Lori call her?
once again, why would a mother put their child up on there to talk, badly about a father? So, you don't want to do that. You'd like to maybe think she has some decency and some decent qualities.
So, a big
So,
thank you to Emma, Fab True Crime Addict. Appreciated. Thank you, Emma. Nice photo there. Nice photograph. All right, I'm trying to get. I'm just trying to stay as current as possible with some of the comments. Great conversation taking place. We're over 4,500 live viewers right now. Thank you so much, everyone watching on my YouTube, the Court TV YouTube, my Facebook, Twitch, X, and Bridget N. Real question. Can the jury ask about where the other witnesses are? No way they aren't going to wonder, right? Is the court not allowed to mention it? Well, this is a jurisdiction, which I love, that allows, I know Al hates it because he's still a practicing lawyer, where the jury gets to ask questions.
right.
The jury can ask, but in the rules are that just because the jury asks a question doesn't mean that they necessarily get it answered. So they write all their questions, and then if there's any issue about whether or not it can be answered, the judge will make a ruling. So not every question is a proper question under the rules of evidence, etc. So if they asked about that, my guess is they would not. You think they would just avoid it, or would they answer it in a non-answering way?
They'd answer it and they'd say it's not relevant.
And say it's not relevant. Okay. That's great. The answer is it doesn't matter why they're not here. It's not relevant.
Right.
Thank you, Judge Al.
That would be the history of the response the judges give on these types of questions. They always say it's relevant.
Just Nina, the evidence will show her enchiladas were bland. And these were green chili chicken enchiladas. Have you ever had one of these, Al?
Yes, I have. Not hers, but I have had one at, let's say, Pancho's Burritos in New Milford, New Jersey.
You made that up. He
made
that up. He made that up.
Pancho's Burritos in New Milford, New Jersey. It's on Main Street. Please look it up.
No, because I'm a body language expert, and would you look up and to your right when you're going for that answer? That means you're making it up. When
Well,
you're
I
going
thought you were going to go.
up to your left, you're trying to recall something that really happened. Up to your right, you're making it up.
I'm not making it up, but I was actually looking to see, because I thought you were going to hit the history button. So I was looking to make sure my notes were in front of me.
Oh, okay. Well, wait, did Al say the magic word?
What is that? What word is that?
To civil rights and all the revolution fights. World War I and World War II. I'll always knows who is who. It's this day in history. This day in history. History. Now let's listen to his story.
Oh.
Today in History brought to you by Pancho's Burritos in New Milford, New Jersey. April 11th, 1945, George Patton's U.S. Third Army liberates Buchenwald concentration camp. What's interesting about Buchenwald was that the Gestapo had sent word to the administrators of Buchenwald that the Americans were on their way, and so they needed to blow the camp up, and they were going to send dynamite over to blow the camp up. But the administrators had heard Patton was coming and got out way before the phone call, so the prisoners answered the phone and said, yeah, we blew the camp up. Don't worry about it. And then Patton came and liberated that camp. The interesting thing about that camp is that's where there were no gas chambers at that camp, but there were medical experiments there, beatings, malnutrition. The wife of the commandant herself beat prisoners and collected lampshades, gloves, book covers, all made from the skin of camp victims. So it's a horrendous, horrendous place. And Buchenwald is the concentration camp where Elie Wiesel was at. So he was liberated on this day, April 11th, 1945.
Monica Sementelli has been found guilty out in California in the celebrity hairstylist case. This was like a love triangle. She was dating and really infatuated with this former porn star turned racquetball pro. There's a joke in there somewhere. I haven't figured it out yet, but you go from porn star to racquetball, and he basically tried to take the rap for her. But the jury apparently has convicted her of all charges. Thank you, Sally Salomon.
Both jobs require balls.
That's quite a racket there. Hey, let me ask you this. I don't know where this trial was. Did they have lunch before they came back with the verdict?
It's a California trial. So it's before lunch. I think this was one of the deals where they reached it yesterday, but wanted to sleep on it, like they did in the Scott Peterson case.
Maybe they were serving green enchiladas and they weren't into it.
So, okay. April 11th, 1970, Apollo 13th takes off for the supposed third lunar landing. We all know what happens on that. Okay, that is, Houston, we have a problem. It was a famous movie with regards to same. And I just want to dispel a great myth with regards to it. Gene Kranz, who's one of the control comm people, is said to have said failure is not an option. Okay, and that was a line from the movies. Gene Kranz himself, who I've had dinner with several times, has said to me, I never said that line. I do wish I did say that line, but he still used it anyway for his autobiography.
Did you go out to dinner and eat that astronaut food? I used to love buying
the ice cream. Yes, the astronaut ice cream was.
I had the astronaut ice cream, but I never actually opened it up. I just made a wall.
You still have it. It's good. It's probably still good, Jonesy, if you haven't opened it.
Keep it forever. Now, in true crime history, on this day in 1961, the trial of Adolf Eichmann begins in Israel. Eichmann was a member of the Wannsee Conference, which.
Wait. A guy named Adolf is having a trial in Israel.
Yes.
And he was able to get a jury.
No, it was a 3-judge panel.
Okay.
Panel.
We talk about difficulty finding juries in some of the cases here. That would be extremely difficult.
Well, what was interesting is that they could not find an Israeli lawyer to defend him. They had to bring a lawyer in from Germany. Yeah. So they brought in a German lawyer. Eichmann was an administrator. He was at the Wannsee Convention where they had talked about the final solution. He was living under an assumed name in Argentina, was kidnapped in Argentina by the Mossad, was brought to Israel for the trial. The trial ended on August 15th, 1961. The sentence came down in December of 1961. He was convicted on all counts and sentenced to depend by the neck on May 31st, 1962. Finally, on this day, and this is a story that should, bring back memories to everyone. April 11th, 1989, the Menendez boys red-rummed Jose and Kitty Menendez in their Beverly Hills mansion on this day in 1989.
Unbelievable. Oh, we got an update here.
The boys are celebrating.
Yeah, they just did an interview with TMZ for the documentary. Diana K, interesting here. Alex stunned Joseph Ryan in the heart, not the groin, like Alex said. He was in intensive care for 3 days, gave him permanent heart damage, probably caused his demise. He was found.
Probably caused his groin to hurt too.
No, but she's saying it's not the groin. It's the heart. It was a stun gun to the heart, not the groin. So, but he died alone in his apartment, allegedly. Like that's another one of the bodies piling up in Lori Daybell's life. Thank you, Diana. That's interesting information. Very interesting. Bridget N with a super sticker. Thank you, Bridget N. Much appreciated. Diana K. Up again. Joe's attorney said this in an interview with Lum. Okay. Great information. Thank you so much. Appreciated.
Yes, thank you.
Yeah, that's good stuff. By the way, live streaming on the Court TV YouTube channel, my YouTube channel, Twitch, Facebook, and X. Please like, subscribe, and share and re-X.
And merch.
Doris, Vinny's a sweetie pie. What, Al? You have a problem with that? It's just random comments that pop up from time to time in the chat. And I just, once in a while I'll grab a random one. And this is one of the random ones that I happen to do. But there's more to the story here that we just want to acknowledge in all of this because she was the winner of this beautiful, allegedly wine-colored sweatshirt that as a result of winning the blood sugar competition in Q1 on my solo live streams. It's a long story, but Doris.
The blood sugar competition?
Yes, where people at the end of the program guess my current blood sugar.
Wow, that's fantastic.
Yes, and there's a great theme song that goes along with it, but I will not bother you with that at this moment.
Can we do it on this show one week?
One time we will do it, and you guys can play. But
how about this? We do my blood pressure with the random comments you seem to pull out from the the air somewhere. The air.
Well, he hasn't done any comments yet about how his allegedly shirt or sweat matches his eyes. I noticed that you chose blue. I have a black one myself.
Yes. So, by the way, this wine-colored shirt and Al's sweatshirt and my sweatshirt are all available at the Vinnie Originale True Crime merch shop.
My Gayabata is available at Hey-Ban, which is a mail order catalog that old men used to use in the back of Parade magazine back in the 70s and 80s. It truly is. This is from Hey-Ban. Mail order. But, mail order had a different meaning back then. Only old guys sent away for clothing. Now everyone does.
Indeed.
So wait, can we talk about the little
Hey everybody, I've got something for your body. You can wear it by yourself or with Frankie Valli. It's true crime merch from Vinnie Originale. It's true crime merch. It's true crime merch. It's true crime merch from Vinnie Originale. From Vinnie Originale.
I feel like Diaz has just walked in from the bullpen at a Met game.
That's a great vibe. It's a great vibe. Yes. I'm loving it. So yeah, we do have the true crime merch. Al, as you were saying.
I was saying that the woman that dated Lori's husband, okay, that I know that was looked upon as like she was being, jealous and this, that, the other thing, and catty and the whole 9 yards. But you know what though, Vin, from the standpoint of what she's trying to prove in this, her performance, is that they were not going to get a divorce and that she still cared about him. So if she didn't portray the jealous wife who was being wronged by this hussy who was dating him behind her back and was getting information about her and everything else, I think it would have, I think the jury would have sat there and said, well, wait a minute, why wasn't she defending herself? Or why wasn't she doing something along those lines? She needed to show that she cared about this guy. So you can see, I was upset that he was dating someone else. Of course I cared about him.
Yeah.
That was fantastic. That was fantastic between her and the girl who dated
the other woman.
Let's
Yeah,
watch it.
yeah, it was fantastic. She should do something about her roots.
Right? Correct.
She's
We
in
have not read
prison.
before, correct? Not?
Yeah, in
And
Maricopa
you
County, where
stated
she has to
that
wear
your
like pink
husband- or my
underwear.
husband told you that he was going through a divorce. Is that correct?
That's correct.
And did you have any way to verify that?
No, I didn't try to verify that.
Okay. So did it surprise you later to find out that we were not in the process of a divorce?
Charles was in the process of a divorce.
He was not in the process of a divorce. Did it surprise you to find that out? You've seen it all on TV where we're not getting divorced.
Okay.
So on the website that you met him, did he say he was divorced?
I'm not certain.
Would you have gone on a date with him if he would have said he was married?
If I would have realized how married he still was, maybe not. But I just met for dinner. I wasn't sleeping with him or anything.
Do you go on dates with married men? Naturally?
Argumentative. I'm going to also object under 611 for harassment.
All right. I'll sustain the objection.
Your Honor, do I not have a right to cross-examine this witness for what she has already testified to?
You can cross-examine her about what she's testified to.
So you did go on a date with a married man,
I went on a date with Charles.
but you
By the way, she's living in her own home. They are obviously separated at this point. He had filed earlier in the year and then unfiled, and was likely getting ready to refile for divorce. She was already in a relationship with Chad Daybell at this point as well. So it's all farcical. To me, this gets back to my original premise of her evil. She is painting a picture that is completely inaccurate as to who she is and what was going on. She's painting the picture of a wife and a mother, and it's so contrary to the truth. But will the jury understand it? Will the jury get it? I just hope that they understand the truth of what was happening, because we know so much more than they know.
Right. And that's why this needed to be done. She needed to seem that she was offended that, this woman was dating her husband.
Yeah.
Because if it was nonchalant, if she didn't care, then the jury's going to go, well, if she didn't care, why would she not care? So, and the whole time she's going, my husband, my husband, my husband. And that would it surprise you to know that we didn't have any divorce plans, or that we were staying together, or this, that. I mean, it is what she needs to do to convince this jury that she wouldn't want her husband dead because she still loved him.
Okay. As a matter of fact, is stating, hi guys, great show. You are all beautiful. There you go. As a matter of fact, thank you so
And
much.
as a matter of fact.
As a matter of
Jack.
fact, I will
And
continue.
that's the fact, Jack.
And in this part of the show, I think we have to whisper because the volume is very low on this clip. So let's take you
very
back,
low.
back inside the court, almost like we're covering a golf match.
did not know he was married.
I knew his divorce was not final.
His divorce was not started.
Okay.
Okay. So in your text messages, you asked Charles if he was a good kisser. Is that correct?
Maybe, sure.
Did he answer that text message?
I'm
gonna
sure.
object to
I'm sure he did.
relevance. Again, 611 harassment.
I'll sustain the objection for relevance.
My guess, Charles was a good kisser. That's my 2 cents.
Oh, okay. I'm sorry. I thought maybe you knew that from personal experience.
No. It's just my educated guess.
Okay. Well, he was a baseball player.
Are you trying to tell me and this jury that you went on one date with my husband and he told you all the details of our lives?
I'm telling you the truth, and that's what I know.
So you spent your whole date getting to know each other, talking about me.
Don't flatter yourself. No, we did not spend the whole time talking about you.
The gloves are off. Candace, you hit the nail on the head. To me, that's the moment when this becomes very real. Now, I believe that Lori could have taken a different tact here, just like she could have taken a different tact with Adam. Instead of making this woman into the villain, because she's just a woman on a Mormon dating app who, went on one date with a man the night before he was
Who would
taken
think
out.
the Mormons had such a thing?
Everyone has one. The
Mormonsonly.com.
the case down in Florida with the law professor Dan Markel and Donna Adelson and all them. Donna and her daughter Wendy found Dan Markel on J-Date, which is for Jewish people. And then ironically, she divorced him because he was too Jewish, even though she was looking for a husband on J-Date. There's Christian mingles. There's everything. There's every little niche that you could find, and a lot of it faith-based for obvious reasons. People who are strong believers in their faith want to marry within the faith because they want to raise their children within the faith. So, but yeah, for those of us, who aren't Mormon, you might not think about it. But if you were a Mormon and you wanted to meet someone else from the LDS, and you were single, that's a good spot to go. Good spot. Let's continue to watch this. Wow.
You knew a lot about me, right?
I knew what I've testified to.
What else did you talk about on your date?
Lots of things.
Like what, for instance?
Life, kids, the church, lots of things.
Okay. Did he tell you about anything about our other 4 children?
Yes,
So you knew that we did have 5 children as well?
I did.
Okay. Did you talk?
And this is amazing, right? She's talking about our 5 children. Well, by the way, when Charles is taken out by Alex, like, does she tell anyone in the family? Is there like a phone call? Oh my goodness, this tragedy? No, leaving everyone in the dark. It's insanity. She's misrepresenting everything. And hopefully prosecutors bring it back and are able to point all this out in their closing argument. Al, another, look at this from Bridget N. Vinnie, you're the best. I always watch you specifically. You bring up the same things I'm always thinking. My boyfriend doesn't like that I say, don't talk to me right now. I got to listen to my silver fox.
Whoa. My dad used to refer to himself as the silver fox.
Did he?
Yeah.
So who do you remember in country music who the real silver fox was?
Yes, it was
George Jones?
Was
Was it George
Jones?
Jones? I would have thought it was
Charlie Rich.
Was it Charlie? Yeah, Charlie Rich. That's what I would have thought.
Charlie Rich. Not to be confused with Charlie Pride. Charlie Pride was younger.
Charlie Pride never appeared on his early albums, if I'm not mistaken, because they did not want the country Western audience to know that he was a man of color.
Yeah. Yep.
Interesting on that.
Yeah, but yet it was, I believe it was Charlie Rich.
That's right. Vin, that one just kind of came up. That was the whole thing. You just kind of grabbed that out of the ozone.
Totally random. Totally random. Here we go.
To you about my daughter Tylee?
He did.
Did he talk about his relationship with her?
I don't recall that.
Did he talk about the contention in his relationship with my daughter Tylee?
I don't recall that.
Now, when Lori gets emotional, she starts talking very quickly, very rapidly. That's a tell in her. Now, this is an actual issue that's in the case that again, if she had proper representation, this is a potentially winnable case. Maybe you could hang some jurors on this because there was friction in the relationship between Tylee and Charles. There were problems because even Charles' sister, Kay, testified about it, that it was sort of an ongoing thing in the household, teenage daughter. Usually it's teenage daughter and mom, but here it may have been teenage daughter and stepdad, despite the fact that he was providing everything for her and buying her cars and everything else. There was still some friction, and not 100% totally unnatural to have some level of friction when you've got a teenager in the house.
Right.
You have a step parent. It can happen. Let's continue.
I'm sure you don't.
I'm going to object to comments by the defendant made after questions testifying.
Sustain the objection.
On your date, you talked about my husband was a life insurance salesman. Is that correct?
I knew he did something with money and insurance, but I really didn't know the details of what he did for work. Like I said, I don't ask the details about what someone does for work when I'm trying to get to know someone.
But you knew that he sold life insurance. You stated that.
I believe that I had a vague understanding that he did something with insurance.
And then he brought that up again at dinner.
No, we didn't talk about his work at dinner.
I thought you said you did talk about, and correct me if I'm wrong, you said you did talk about that he changed the life insurance policy at dinner.
Well, you were asking me if we talked about that he sold insurance, which that didn't happen. But yes, he did tell me that he changed the beneficiary of his life insurance policy at dinner.
Did he tell you how much his life insurance policy was for?
Yes, he did.
What did he say?
$1 million.
Did he?
Okay, let's talk about this. This is a weird date. This is
a weird conversation. I'm sorry.
You're right, because it's a first date, and we're going to run out of time here. So let me just remove this. There are two things to this. So it's a first date, but they had been speaking several times and texting for about a week. So I think they were a little closer than people would be on a first date, but still, how do you think the jury interprets all that, Jonesy? Do you think they hold that against the prosecution, that Charles, the victim here, is talking a lot about his soon-to-be ex-wife?
I wouldn't think so. No. I mean, you're having conversation. That's certainly going to be a part of it, right? You're talking about your life with somebody.
Well, why would you be mentioning your insurance policy? And I changed the beneficiary. It's $1 million, unless he was trying to get her in bed. And this could be yours, hon. Why would you bring that up? Why would you bring that up? I mean, that doesn't even make that. How does that conversation even start? It's like, please pass the pepper. Oh, and by the way, I changed the beneficiary.
Well, you're married to someone who's losing their mind, who believes that you're a zombie and you're Ned Schneider. You may be explaining your life situation, that I have, we adopted this young child who's going to need help throughout his life, and she's been threatening me, etc. And one of the reasons is perhaps she wants to get her hands on my loot. So,
Thank you, April Diaz. Have a great day today. Thank you, April Diaz. We appreciate everything you say. We all know she's a great fan, and we know the kind words she has. We always love to hear from you. Thank you, April Diaz.
And a big thank you to April Diaz. Always appreciated. Whatever.
Thank you, April Diaz.
Remind me of those burritos in New Milford, New Jersey.
April Diaz, we all appreciate.
And on a related note, did you know that Tito Puente did the original version of Oyo Como Va by Santana?
One second. I don't know how to lower the music. There we go. I lowered it. What were you saying, Jonesy?
It wasn't terribly important, but on a related note, Tito Puente did the original version of Oyo Como Va by Santana.
And I'm Facebook friends with his son.
Are you really?
Tito Puente Jr.
He tours. Yeah, he tours as with the with a band and stuff.
Oh, he's a great guy. We're Facebook friends.
That's nice. Just like that.
Yeah. All right. So we're running out of time here, gentlemen. Believe it or not. Believe it or not, we're running out of time.
Walking on there.
Diana Kay, Silver Fox was Kenny Rogers.
I don't think that's true.
I think it was Charlie Rich.
I was going to say I thought it was George Jones, but then you guys convinced me it was Charlie Rich.
Let me further confuse the situation. I was about to say Kenny Rogers when you said Charlie Rich, and I thought, right, So, in other words, we have no idea who the Silver Fox was.
No,
it was my
it was
dad.
Charlie Rich.
I'm telling you, James McKenna.
It was Charlie Rich. Well, by the way, we didn't even have things went by so quickly today. We didn't have time to say thank you to our great mod squad, Gen X, Frankie Figs, Jennifer Soubet, Ashley Bouchard. Thank you all so much for keeping
Silver Fox was Charlie Rich.
I was gonna say that you were looking it up right now. I saw you doing
I just did look it up.
See, I know that because my dad, not only a great jurist, not only a great businessman, not only the greatest father ever, but also a country music fan. Did I just make a rhyme there? I think I did.
You're a poet and you don't know it, my mom would say.
I should turn that into a song. Okay.
You know, growing up where we did, WHN was the only country music radio station in the New York, New Jersey area. And I got into 70s country because they covered the New York Mets. And when the Mets would go off, they would be on my dial. And I found out why other radio stations held contests. You could never get through on the phone line. In New York, on the country station, you'd be like the first caller. Yeah. So I started listening to it.
And then I worked at Z100 and I saw how they do it. It was like caller 1, then they'd hang up. Caller 2, you'd hang up. If they're taking caller like 100, be caller 5, caller 17, caller 22. They would start skipping numbers just to get to 100.
Well, take this. When I worked at the Hawk, we would take the traffic reports in, and she would call ahead of time, and she would say, why don't we record the later one as well? And we would record 2 at the same time. The first I would play 20 minutes later. The next one I'd play 40 minutes later. We present it as live, and people would have no idea what the traffic was like.
That is awesome. All right, it's time to leave. Al, where can folks find you?
Okay, hasta la vista, la Tanginistas. I will be on Monday night with Vinnie on Closing Arguments, 8 to 9. See me there, 8 to 9. And as I said, get to the merch. Hasta la vista, Los Tanginistas.
Jonesy, where can folks find the radio legend?
Hey, if you're in New Jersey, I'll be DJing at Ghost Hawk Brewing right across from Rutt's Hut in Clifton, New Jersey tomorrow night, 6 to 10 p.m. It's exit 16W on the Turnpike.
If I was in New Jersey, Jonesy, I'd be there.
What's the name of the place?
Ghost Hawk Brewing.
Okay.
Ghost Hawk Brewing. And I'm Vinnie Politan. You'll see me 8 to 10 Monday through Friday on Court TV. Have a great day. Jonesy, say goodnight.
Good night.
See all of you in court. Somebody say tangent, tangent. Somebody say podcast, podcast. Tangent, tangent. Podcast, podcast. This is the Tangent Podcast. Good night, everyone. Good night. Thank you for all your support. We are the Tangent True Crime Podcast. We'll see all of you in court. Somebody say tangent.